What's up, YouTube? This is Mr. Goobalie of Goobalie Gaming, back at you with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. Now, guys, give this video a like if you like what you see, comment down below what you think of this deck, and subscribe for more. Anyway, as you guys may have already seen by the thumbnail and description, but today we've got a Relinquished deck profile. So I was actually planning on doing this particular profile earlier, but I was waiting for that very underwhelming June ban list to drop just to be safe, and we got what we got, and I guess it's, better safe than sorry. Anyway, guys, if you don't already know, I plan on giving away these 3 cards to 3 of my subscribers who have the top 3 comments on my last video. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and after this video, make sure to check out my Toon deck profile from May and write yourself a comment. I don't go into it much in that video, but obviously I'll be doing an update on the Toon deck profile after Toon Chaos is officially released, and I'll announce the winners on that video. Anywho, enough about Toons. Let's get back to the other boss monster of Pegasus, Relinquished, which has always been one of my favorite monsters from the original anime, and I can't wait to show you this deck. So let's get right into it. So to start things off, we've got 3 Relinquished. So basically, if you don't already know and you don't want to read the smallest text in the world, what this card does in a nutshell is it targets an opponent's monster and equips it to itself and gains that equipped monster's attack and defense. It can also only have 1 monster equipped to it at a time, and it has its own protection from destruction by destroying the equipped monster instead of Relinquished when it would be destroyed. Then, on top of that, if you would take damage from a battle with Relinquished, your opponent takes the damage instead. This card was always pretty good, but its downfall really is just being a ritual monster. But since they've got some support, I don't know. Also, as you can see here, I am listing the lowest price that you can find each card available online at the time of this recording to give you an idea of what kind of budget you'd see with this deck. And I'm grabbing all these prices from tcgplayer.com. It's just a pretty good database, and you should use it to kind of look up prices of cards, because they change daily. But anyway, next we've got 3 Millennium-Eyes Illusionist. This card lets you discard itself as a quick effect to target an opponent's effect monster and immediately equip it to an Eyes Restrict monster or Relinquished that you control as if it were equipped by its own effect. And the nice thing on top of that is that when you do special summon an Eyes Restrict monster or Relinquished while this card is in the grave, it shoots right back to your hand, and that effect is not optional. So it's a really cool card, and you always want to see this card, so definitely play it at 3. Then next, we've got a singular copy of Illusionist Faceless Magician. This card can special summon itself from the graveyard or hand when an Eyes Restrict monster or Relinquished is destroyed, and also when this card gets destroyed, you can special summon an Eyes Restrict or Relinquished monster from your graveyard. So it's a nice recycling card for the deck, but you only really want to see this once. So next, we're going to be playing 3 of Manju, the 10,000 Hands. This is just here to get your Black Illusion Ritual or your Relinquished to your hand when this card is normal summoned. Then we've got 2 copies of Kinkabayo. This card works really nice in the deck because it can just be a 1-card link monster by going into Relinquished Anima or even your Predaplant, Verte, and Anaconda. And with that, you can go right into your Restrict Fusion monsters. I was playing 1 copy of this card for just a while, but then I found that I wanted to see it just a bit more, so now I'm playing it at 2. And then next, I've got my Kaijus, and I've got 2 of each of Gameciel, Gardala, and Dogoran. And the reason I'm playing these level 8 Kaiju monsters instead of the others is that I can easily go into trade-in when these cards are in my hand, because sometimes you can brick with these. And the reason we're even playing Kaijus at all is because of this card, Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, and I've got to have 3 of these. This card is your way of OTKing in the deck because what it does is it destroys all monsters on the field and special summons a Kaiju monster on each side of the field. And the cool thing is from there is that you can eat the one you give to your opponent because of Relinquished or Thousand Eyes Restrict, and then you can just swing with 2 big monsters. It's also fun to note that this card has a secondary effect of putting a Kaiju monster right back into your hand right from the deck by banishing itself from the graveyard. So this can even help you go into trade-in if you find yourself in that situation. Then we've got 3 pre-preparation of Rites. You've got to have 3 because this card is a nice +1 that you can really play in any ritual-based deck. And what this card can do is it can add your Relinquished and Black Illusion Ritual straight from your deck to your hand. And speaking of which, we've got 3 Black Illusion Rituals in the deck. This is just the ritual card for Relinquished. So you're going to need it, you're going to want to see it, and you can pull it out with a lot of different cards. So next, we've got 3 Relinquished Fusion. It's a nice, quick play Polymerization stand-in card that lets you fusion summon into your Eyes Restrict monsters from banishing the materials from your hand, field, or graveyard. It can also let you grab an opponent's effect monster and equip it to an Eyes Restrict monster or Relinquished by banishing itself from the graveyard. And then on top of that, we've got 3 super polymerizations because Millennium-Eyes can use any effect monster to go into it, and being able to use your opponent's monsters as the material is just the best. This card's always been amazing. You always want to see it. You got to play 3. It's a spell speed 4. It's unstoppable. It's a quick play. And if you can go into this card in any deck that allows it, it's really worth it. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Called by the Grave to put a halt to any hand traps that are going to try and stop you from searching out your cards. Because there is a lot of searching in this deck, and that you really don't want to be stopped with any hand traps. And then, as I mentioned before, we've got 2 copies of Trade-In. Use this. You can swap itself and a Kaiju monster from your hand for 2 new cards, and it just helps with the deck's consistency when you're playing these level 8 Kaiju monsters. We've also got 1 Preparation of Rites to boost that consistency by searching out Relinquished, and it can also bring back Black Illusion Ritual from the grave, and I've only got 1 in here because I'd much rather see pre-preparation of Rites before this card, but you could definitely play more of this card in your own build. I'm just personally only playing 1. And last in the main deck, we've got a single copy of Instant Fusion. We used to run more, but since it was limited to 1, you can only play 1. But it's still good to have because in this deck, this is your main way of getting into Thousand Eyes Restrict. All right, so as I said, that's it for the main deck, and now let's go right into the extra deck. And we're going to start this off with 3 copies of Millennium-Eyes Restrict. You could play 2 if need be because this card is still pretty expensive at the moment. But anyway, what this card does is it can gobble up your opponent's monsters just like Relinquished or Thousand Eyes Restrict. But what's cool is that it also negates the effect of other monsters with the same name as the equipped. So this card is really good for disruption, and you could also go into this with your copy of Instant Fusion as well. But again, mainly you're playing that Instant Fusion to bring out this single copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict. And that's why you're only playing 1, because you're really only going into it with Instant Fusion, and then you can continuously recycle him out of the graveyard with other cards from your deck. But basically what this card does is while it's on the field, other monsters cannot change their battle positions, and it can also equip the opponent's monsters into itself and gain the attack and defense, just like Millennium-Eyes and Relinquished. Then next, because we're playing Super Polymerization, we're going to play Mudragon of the Swamp and Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, because these are just easy targets for Super Poly, and you can go right into these using your opponent's monsters and just clear their board. Then next, we'll be playing 2 copies of the most recent support for Relinquished, and that is Relinquished Anima. What this card does is that for a 1 level 1 monster, you can go right into this version of Relinquished. It can snatch up a monster just like the others, but it can only grab the card that it is pointing to, so be aware of that. What you're mainly going to want to do is after you've already grabbed a monster with, say, Thousand Eyes Restrict, you'll go right into this, allowing you to grab another of your opponent's monsters. But if your opponent didn't put any monsters where it is pointing towards, you can go into this. We've got 2 copies of Linkuriboh. So like I said, this is just something you can easily go into because it's 1 level 1. And if Relinquished Anima can't target anything, you can just go into this instead. We also threw in 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice because it's a generic Link monster that you can get into easily. It can raise all of your dark monsters by 500 and also lets you bring back a dark monster from your graveyard back to your hand when it's destroyed. Next, I've got that 1 copy of Predaplant Verte Anaconda that I mentioned. This can help you go into your Super Polymerization pretty early, and you can get out your Relinquished Fusion monsters faster. And like I said, very easy to go into with just Kinkabio. Then I've got one Knightmare Phoenix. We're going into some more generic Link monsters. This one is just some generic removal of your opponent's spells and traps. Then we have Knightmare Unicorn. Here's another generic Link monster, but this one bounces cards on the field right back into the deck. And then to wrap it up, we're ending it on the very expensive Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. We're just playing it here because we've got it and we can get into it with the help of the Kaijus. But this card is crazy, crazy pricey right now, and I really wouldn't recommend it until it gets a reprint. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, and please comment down below. I want feedback, good, bad. I just really want to know what you guys think of this deck. And subscribe. We're new into the Yu-Gi-Oh game, but, you know, if you like what you see, just like, comment, subscribe, and let us know. So, again, thank you for... What the fuck?